The year 2009, the setting E3. Joe Staten of Bungie just finished his gameplay demo of Halo 3 ODST, the first Halo shooter to not feature the Master Chief. But the show ain't over just yet. Joe says Bungie has been working on something else, another Halo game. Suddenly, we see a planet, the split hull of a UNSC ship, and boom! An explosion. And then there's a mention of Sierra 320. Wait, people think, is that a Spartan? The trailer continues as the invasion escalates, and we get a crescendo with,
"This is Sierra 259. You got Spartans on the ground, sir. We're not going anywhere."
While Halo 3 ODST was the first Halo shooter to let us play as someone other than the Master Chief, Reach would represent the first shooter to let us play as, and alongside, other Spartans. The Chief had always been marketed as the last Spartan regardless of whether that was true or not, so Reach, for many fans, would be the first time they'd see the Halo universe with multiple Spartans kicking ass. And as part of that marketing, especially for fans who didn't delve into the expanded universe, or those who might not be interested in a non-Chief game, a particular ViDoc was released in August 2010. Titled "A Spartan Will Rise," the ViDoc introduced a phrase that's rather familiar to Halo fans these days.
Hyper-lethal. There's only one other Spartan with that rating.
Halsey notes that only one other Spartan has been given that rating, and the implication is clear. Noble 6 is your new Master Chief. See, he can do the shit that Chief can do, even Halsey admits it. And for a lot of people, this quote did its job. However, its legacy would not end with said ViDoc. Though mainly meant to market the game and appeal to players who might be skeptical about controlling a new Spartan, the need to draw a comparison from Chief to Noble 6 would have a lasting impact. Suddenly, the Chief and Noble 6 were the deadliest Spartans in existence, and that was that. However, for several within the lore community, this just didn't sit right for a number of reasons. First, the Chief wasn't even the deadliest or most capable Spartan too. Linda 058 was able to shoot 7 Banshee pilots out of their craft while hanging upside down by one leg only a day after being revived from the freaking dead. Kelly single-handedly infiltrated a Covenant capital ship and set it on a collision course with its own fleet, destroying half of the vessels in the process. If that ain't hyper-lethal, I don't know what is. Second though, for the time the ViDoc is set, the Chief hadn't really done anything that particularly impressive yet, or at least nothing that would make him stand out as particularly hyper-lethal compared to his comrades. The Chief was certainly a renowned figure, but his legend had not been forged as we know today, or as the ViDoc was meant to reference. The Master Chief is a very capable Spartan, don't get me wrong, but, and especially around this time, the Chief was essentially the quote-unquote average Spartan. He didn't excel at any one thing in particular beyond possibly leadership. That's certainly nothing to scoff at, but hyper-lethal, I can't say I particularly buy that, not over some of the other Spartans that are out there. Hell, in Halo Shadows of Reach, the Chief even makes clear that being the best known does not make him the best. Quote, "Boldasar gave a small smile and looked forward again. I'm glad they sent the best." "There's a difference between the best and best known," John said. "All of us are pretty capable." But we're getting ahead of ourselves, for back in 2010, this was the canon. It made no sense, but it was canon. Then in 2016, Halo Ground Command released. The second Halo-themed tabletop game, it, like Fleet Battles before it, contained a ton of new lore and information, among that being a retcon of what it meant to be hyper-lethal. Reading from the Spartan figure card for Halo Ground Command, we find the following. Each Spartan is a hyper-lethal Special Forces operative. So now all Spartans are considered hyper-lethal. This would later be reinforced in 2018's official Spartan Field Manual, in which the term hyper-lethal appears twice. First, on page 26, it's noted that, quote, "Together Spartan 4 Super Soldier and Generation 2 Mjolnir powered armor constitute a single hyper-lethal combat asset." And later on page 57 we get, "The Spartan 2s and the Master Chief are rated as hyper-lethal by ONI tactical analysts." So not only does it reinforce the 2s as universally hyper-lethal, it adds the 4s into that group as well. And yes, the 3s are also considered hyper-lethal. In Halo Ground Command, the Spartan models were technically Spartan 3s, so there you go. Now, I know not everyone enjoys this, especially the 4s being rolled into the same blanket term. Many feel it cheapens the term, and I honestly get that. I don't want to tell anyone that the feeling is invalid. However, I would like to make the case for how this is an improvement. First, as I think I've made clear by now, restricting the hyper-lethal term to just the Chief in Noble 6 doesn't really make sense, not when you take the expanded universe into account. Cut that out and sure, maybe, but otherwise no. I already spoke of the feats of Kelly 087 and Linda 058, and there are certainly other capable Spartans out there. With regards to Noble 6 though, we're basically only told that his file is covered in black ink, and that he's made entire militia groups disappear. Well, again, nothing to scoff at, that's basically par for the course as far as Spartans are concerned. Second, while I can only speculate at 343's motives for the change, another thing that this change does is, in a way, level the playing field for all Spartans. The Chief and Noble 6 are no longer on this unreachable pedestal that no other Spartan can hope to reach. And that's certainly not where they belong, not in the grand scheme. Suddenly, once again, you can have real discussions about Spartan capabilities without simply resorting to, well, Master Chief and Noble 6 are hyper-lethal, so discussion over, that's facts and logic. Fans can create their own OC Spartans and claim them as hyper-lethal as well. This stuff may be small, but I think it's worthwhile. But for me, the most important aspect of this change is that it simply removes the Chief and 6 from that pedestal. These characters shouldn't be there simply because they're quote-unquote hyper-lethal according to a marketing video, but because they've earned it as a result of their stories and character. The Chief is often put on a pedestal for good reasons, reasons earned over the course of a franchise. And there are reasons enough to praise Noble 6 without the need for some artificial badass sticker being slapped on him. In other words, it's because the term kind of cheapens everything that I enjoy it being retconned. Spartans stand out by merit again, not some word of God statement. And with that, I think we can bring this to a close. Hopefully this video will inform people unaware of the change to the lore surrounding the term hyperlethal, and maybe even change a few minds on the matter. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of the video, and of course, the change. Thank you for watching, stick around for the Patreon shoutout, and until next time, this has been Halo Canon. First, I'd like to give a big thank you to our Harspice patrons. First there's Hope, then we have Freight, SS Deco-chan, Discombobulated Sycophant, Justin Montgomery, Ada Frame, and Man in the Dark. Thank you all for your amazing support of the channel. Next, I'd like to thank our theoretical patrons. If you'd like to see your name here or get a direct shout out, check out patreon.com/HaloCanon. You can simply support the channel or get additional benefits such as behind the scenes materials, including raw audio for upcoming videos, or even shout outs like this. All patrons now get early access to certain videos as well, and more benefits are to come. However, your continued viewership is more than enough for me. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and maybe even subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. If you really enjoy my stuff, turn on that notification bell so you can be among the first to see new videos when they release. But for all my fellow Canonites, keep on being awesome.